Hi. This is Jordan Mossman, science writer and creator of the YouTube channel known as Earth Under Emergency. In this channel, we warn you about the current environmental problems, let you know why they are so serious, and discuss the science behind them. In the last episode, we discussed the chemical pollution of the ocean. Since there is probably a lot more to this chemical pollution, we will have further episodes devoted to extended discussion of this subtopic. In this episode, we will devote the entire discussion to plastics. Plastic is a type of polymer that is made up of organic molecules. It's made up of a wide spectrum of compounds, the majority of which contain carbon and hydrogen. Petrochemicals are used to make a variety of industrial plastics. Plastic has a wide range of uses. Packaging, construction, textiles, consumer goods, transportations, electrical and electronic components, and industrial machinery are all included. Containers, for example, can be used in packaging applications, as well as bottles, drums, boxes, trays, cups, baby products, and protective packaging. Despite all of the usefulness and apparent positive value that plastics have, the effects on the oceans is nothing short of horrific. More than half of the 8.3 billion tons of plastic ever produced ends up in the environment, and a large percent of that ends up in the ocean. Polypropylene is used to make plastic containers and reusable water bottles. It is heavier than seawater. It gets carried into sediments and drifts out to the ocean. It is one of the forms of plastic that becomes a microplastic. These are consumed by fish in the benthic and pelagic regions of the ocean. They carry other toxic chemicals which disrupt endocrine activity, damage genes, or suppress immune systems. Experimental evidence also shows that beneficial lactic acid bacteria are reduced and levels of pathogenic bacteria are increased. Nylon, acrylic, and polyethylene are released into wastewater. Polyethylene is used to produce film for packaging and grocery bags. There are 8 types of polyurethane. They contain a cocktail of toxic chemicals. Teflon is understood to be getting into the water supply, and the giant chemical company DuPont knew about this for almost a century. Polycarbonates decompose in the ocean and leach toxic chemicals that include BPA. It is known that BPA disrupts hormone activity. Breaks up into smaller pieces. Polystyrene breaks up into tiny puffed pieces. Experimental evidence shows that foamed polystyrene has a particular style of damaging marine life by allowing small marine organisms such as algae and barnacles to grow on it. Then it sinks to the bottom where more advanced forms of marine life feed on it. There are higher density polymers that are used in textiles, clothing, fishing nets, and coatings for ships. These make up a huge percentage of the plastic substances currently being found in the ocean. None of these items belong in the ocean, and we will pay a very serious price for putting them there. Most of the types of plastic mentioned become transformed into microplastics. Essentially, they are plastics which measure less than 5 millimeters. They can either come from the weathering and degradation of larger items made of the plastic substances. Marine microplastics will affect many aspects of the marine fish and marine food chain. The microplastics can have a toxic effect on fish and other aquatic life, including reducing food intake, delaying growth, causing oxidative damage and abnormal behavior. Ingested microplastic particles can physically damage organs and leach hazardous chemicals from the hormone-disrupting bisphenol A, BPA, to pesticides that can compromise immune function and stymie growth and reproduction. Marine microplastics can 1. Affect phytoplankton photosynthesis and growth, 2. Have toxic effects on zooplankton and affect their development and reproduction, 3. Affect marine biological pump, and 4. Affect ocean carbon stock. Phytoplankton and zooplankton are the most important producer and consumer of the ocean. There is a possibility that microplastics can interfere with carbon sequestration. So you can see the damage that plastics are doing to our oceans, and eventually this disaster will get worse until there is such damage to our food supply that the food chain collapses, and we cannot survive. Pieces of plastic get ingested by seabirds, sea turtles, and marine mammals, causing suffocation, malnutrition, and drowning. Every year, up to 1 million seabirds are killed by plastic garbage. Seabirds, like sea turtles, absorb plastic, which takes up space in their stomachs and can lead to hunger. It is known that giant plankton ingest and carry plastic through the ocean. So, in the previous 200 years, the oceans have stored up to half of all carbon dioxide produced by humans. Plankton consumption of microscopic bits of plastic in the world's oceans may be harming marine species' ability to collect carbon dioxide. Irish scientists have warned that this could lead to hunger. What are we going to do about all this? Here is one organization that is trying to tackle the problem. They are known as the Ocean Cleanup. They state that their goal is to clean up 90% of the plastic floating in the ocean. They are a non-profit organization that develops technology for removing plastic from the ocean. There are some other things which can be done while this is going on. For instance, there are some new methods of collecting plastic waste to try to avoid having it end up in the ocean. This includes such things as curbside recycling, drop-off recycling, buyback centers, and deposit refund programs. Researchers at Florida Atlantic University discovered the extent to which plastics have accumulated in the southern Atlantic Ocean. They used in situ high-volume filtration, MantaNet and multinet sampling, and micro-Fourier transform infrared imaging to sample plastic particles in the region. This data revealed the patterns in which microplastics were distributed, and these patterns were very complex depending on the exact geography studied. In my opinion, there should be a federal mandate calling for the establishment of processing facilities where items made of plastic are brought to, instead of finding themselves at the end of the road where the only path would be to end up in the ocean. These items would be broken down physically first if necessary, and then chemically. There are two ways to process out the plastic. 1. Scientists have discovered mushrooms that can degrade plastic. In fact, there are at least 50 of these. 2. A chemical reaction has been discovered, in which plastic is a reagent and hydrogen is a product. This carries the double benefit of removing a major environmental pollutant while producing a fuel for clean energy. Pastelotiopsis microspora mycelium may survive without air and by eating plastic goods as its primary food supply. As a result, it's a fantastic mushroom for removing plastic from landfills and cluttering our environment. Aspergillus tubangensis can break down polyester polyurethane. There are several other species are said to be able to degrade plastic. Perhaps a facility could be designed that employed several mushroom species to break down plastic, and perhaps the facility could be organized into sections according to which species degraded which type of plastic more efficiently. If this facility were a commercial venture, how would the business model work? How could it be profitable? If, on the other hand, there was a facility that produced hydrogen by reacting plastic, the product could be sold, and it might be worth it to pay people to bring their plastic waste to the facility. By the way, Adidas teased a hypothetical 3D printed shoe built entirely from recyclable plastic garbage collected from the oceans a few years ago. A great YouTube video to watch about a variety of technologies that are being employed to remove plastic from the ocean is entitled "This Modern Technology Removed Millions of Plastics from the Ocean." Employed to remove plastics from the ocean is the following: https://www.youtube.com/watch v=fdzxrz3zzs. We must employ these technologies and take these actions on a grand scale to clean up the oceans, but we must also take action to prevent plastic from making its way to the ocean in the first place. As far as getting rid of what is already there, we must go further in developing technologies that remove microplastic components that have inserted or immersed themselves chemically in marine biological systems in even the most insidious, complex, or mind-boggling manner. The greatest minds in biochemistry, marine biology, and chemical engineering need to be brought together to do an intensive mastermind process in which they not only think outside